What's up, Cub fans? It's your boy Mike Jones back again with another episode. And listen, another day, another Cubs take. What's going on, Chicago Cubs fans? It's your boy Mike Jones again with another episode of Chicago Cubs Centrally, a number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. I'm your host. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And hey, listen, make sure that you do me a favor. Make sure that you guys start liking, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast if you haven't already. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, please. It helps with the algorithm when you share the podcast. It also helps with the algorithm when you like the podcast. And there's also a button there for you to hype the podcast if you're watching on your phone or if you're watching on your computer. Appreciate you guys so much. And shout out to everybody on Spotify and everybody on X. Make sure that you guys heart. Make sure you leave a 5-star review and a like for this episode. Thank you guys so much, everybody, for helping grow the podcast. We've seen exponential growth over the last couple of weeks, especially the last couple of episodes. And I make no mistake about it, I do not attribute that to me. That's all because of you. So thank you guys so much. All right, so let's talk about it. Today we're going to talk about the biggest question facing the Cubs organization right now, and it's not one that I thought we will be having at this point in the season. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, I was looking at the Chicago Cubs. I'm thinking to myself, my God, like there are no holes in this team right now at all. Moises Ballesteros is hitting, you got, PCA is starting to heat up. Dansby Swanson been holding his own this season. Alex Bregman is coming along. I'm like, man, we're gonna be okay. Michael Busch is struggling, but once we get a better Michael Busch and a better Alex Bregman, man, this team is gonna be unstoppable. And then the month of May hit, and ever since the middle of the month of May, it has been just straight up turmoil all the way around. And I mean, there is great discussion going on both sides about what this Cubs organization should do with the rest of this season. And mind you, I know people are going to say, Mike, it is June. Why are you talking already about what the Cubs organization should be doing? Well, that's because, guys, if the Cubs don't make changes here soon, the Cubs are going to find themselves in a world of trouble. Like not just missing the play, not just missing the playoffs trouble, like world of trouble. Like there has to be some of the big decisions made with the organization. So here's where our issue is lying, and this is where we're having problems at. So this decision could not only define 2026, but potentially the next 5 years of Cubs baseball. So on one hand, this team has shown flashes of being a legitimate playoff contender. On the other hand, they've exposed some serious flaws that make you wonder if sacrificing top prospects would be a huge mistake. So today we're going to break down both sides of the argument. We'll discuss why Jed Hoyer should push all his chips to the center of the table, and then why he absolutely should not. So first things first, the case for going all in. Let's start with the aggressive approach. The first reason is simple. You don't waste a competitive window. The Cubs entered June hovering around playoff contention despite a brutal stretch where they lost 10 straight games and fell from first place in the division. Even with that collapse, playoff odds remained around 50%. This isn't a rebuilding team. This isn't a team trying to figure out who it is. This is a team that's supposed to be competing right now. When you're in that position, the worst thing you can do is just sit on your hands, which is a lot of what I felt like the Chicago Cubs have been doing lately, especially Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins. I feel like there's a lot of sitting on our hands, sitting around and waiting for this thing to stabilize and for the odds to even out and the Cubs to go on another run. However, unfortunately, it doesn't keep happening. Like I said, we just lost to the Giants. We lost a series to the Giants who are under 500. Like I said, getting beat down by the Colorado Rockies. I mean, I'm just saying, the Athletics. And these are all teams that we looked at and we said, okay, you got some series coming up where the Chicago Cubs are going to be able to really, really do some things. And it's not happening. It's not happening. So Jed Hoyer recently said the backbone of our team is our position players. He called the position group deep and largely set. And honestly, I mean, when you really look at it, he's right. The Cubs have built a lineup that can score runs and compete with anybody when they're clicking. The core is already here. The need isn't necessarily another major hitter. The need is pitching. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. The rotation is in trouble. Look at the numbers. Since mid-May, Cubs starters have posted a 7.11 ERA over a 20-game stretch, ranking absolute last in baseball during that span. Jameson Taillon just landed on the injured list with a hamstring injury. Matthew Boyd has dealt with injuries. The rotation has struggled to provide consistency. Now, if you're Jed Hoyer, how can you watch those numbers and not think about acquiring a frontline starter? So your thought process immediately goes to, and it's what everybody says, go get an ace. If a pitcher like Tarek Skubal becomes available, the Cubs have the prospect capital to make a move. The Cubs have one of baseball's stronger farm systems. You don't collect prospects forever. Eventually, they're supposed to help you win championships. And if acquiring an ace gives you a legitimate chance to make noise in October, that's exactly what prospects are for. So the next part in this is that Craig Counsell also needs help. After an 18-3 loss to the Giants, manager Craig Counsell openly discussed the team's pitching struggles and how opponents are taking advantage of them. We've seen it with Colin Ray against the Colorado Rockies. We've seen it also, with Jameson Taillon. We've seen it also with Edward Cabrera. We've seen it also with Shota Imanaga. We've seen it with all the Cubs pitchers. The Cubs lead the majors right now in home runs given up. The message isn't obvious. We don't need a new manager. The team needs more pitching. And the Chicago Cubs need to figure that out. Right now, your hitters are streaky. They're cold, they're hot, they're cold, they're hot, and they're not clicking all at the same time. So it makes it harder to be excited about what they got going on. But it's even tougher to win games when you have your pitchers consistently giving up 3 and 4 home runs per game, starting pitchers. So in my eyes, those are the reasons you should look to go all in. Because you have a competitive window, because you do have a team that's full of studs, they just got to get it right. And then you also got to give them a chance to score runs. And it's hard to play from behind every night because your starting pitchers are giving up so many home runs. Now, let's look at the other side. The case against going all in. There are a lot of good reasons, actually, why not to go all in. First and foremost, this team may not be one player away. The Cubs have been wildly inconsistent. At one point, they were 27-12. They went on a tailspin after that. They lost 10 games straight. They fell from division leaders to chasing teams ahead of them. That doesn't sound like a team that's one superstar pitcher away from the World Series. The prospect cost could also be massive. So let's say the Cubs do pursue an ace. Let's say they do go get Skubal. Detroit is going to demand a lot. You're looking at potentially, I've seen the latest mock-ups, you having to give up Jefferson Rojas, you having to give up Kevin Alcantara, you having to give up Jackson Wiggins, basically scraping all of your top prospects together just for a half a season of an ace that you know probably is not re-signing back with you again. You're looking at top prospects, multiple young players, potential future stars. And that's where things get dangerous. Because if this team truly isn't elite, you're sacrificing tomorrow for maybe today. Now, here's the thing. Jed Hoyer has been careful for a reason. Recent reports indicate that the Cubs front office remains hesitant to completely empty the farm system for a short-term solution. And honestly, guys, that makes sense. The Cubs finally have organizational depth. The farm system is producing talent. Why destroy that foundation for a team currently sitting around 500? Jed Hoyer said it himself. The team has to play better. I'm not looking at the trade deadline as our savior when the team isn't playing good. This team has to play better. You got guys sitting on fat contracts that can't hit the ball, that are striking out, that are just not producing. And then let's look at the bullpen. It's not the only issue. You know, fans, including myself, have loved blaming the bullpen. And yes, the bullpen has struggled. But that's not the whole story here. The offense has disappeared for stretches. The rotation has also struggled. Defensive mistakes have also shown up. This has been a team-wide issue. And that's why people have been calling for Craig Counsell's job. Because they say there's no reason why you're getting paid the amount of money that you're getting paid and this team is not together. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. This team-wide issue is not going to be fixed with one trade. There is no one move that's going to make things all better for the Chicago Cubs. And here's another thought. What if the best move is actually a smaller move? Maybe the answer isn't an ace. Maybe the answer is adding 2 relievers. Maybe it's adding a mid-rotation starter. Maybe it's improving depth without sacrificing elite prospects. That approach gives the Cubs a chance to compete while still protecting the future. Kind of similar to what they did last year. I mean, it came to bite them in the ass when they got to the postseason and they needed another starter because Shohei Ohtani was basically unpitchable. But at the same time, the Chicago Cubs went out and they added pieces that they thought would be able to help them, middle relief pitchers, as well as middle rotation starters. Not frontline, but middle rotation guys. But last year they had Cade Horton, and they believed he would be able to start game 1 of every series. But then they ran Matthew Boyd into the ground also, and they ran into some issues. So here's my verdict. Here's my thought process, and I want to know what you guys think about this. If the Chicago Cubs are within striking distance of a division or firmly in a wild card position by late July, I think Jed Hoyer has to buy. Not recklessly, not by trading every top prospect, but this roster clearly needs pitching. Hoyer himself has acknowledged pitching will be the focus when the deadline arrives. The Cubs can't afford another passive deadline, but they also can't mortgage the future for a rental that if this team continues playing inconsistent baseball. The ideal solution? Add pitching. Protect your top-tier prospects and give Craig Counsell a roster capable of making a playoff run. And the cool thing about Craig Counsell is we know he can do a lot with a little. We've seen it happen before. Him, Tommy Hotovy have come from behind before and done a lot with guys without having a little bit. But listen, I want to hear from you guys. Should Jed Hoyer go all in? Should he trade trade prospects for an ace? Or should the Cubs stay patient and protect the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Once again, guys, this is Chicago Cubs Central, your #1 spot for all things Chicago Cubs.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.